This is Elena Roberts, and this is my individual reflection for the Managerial Skills and Professional Experiences course. I am going to explore behavioral topics of conflict resolution, creative problem solving, developing teams, and supportive communication. For conflict resolution, a favorable behavior I learned I have is the ability to apply different strategies when handling conflict. The personal inventory assessment revealed I have a normal level of versatility when managing conflict, meaning I have experience with more than one strategy, but do not apply them all frequently, or I prefer to use one over the others. These three strategies, accommodation, compromising, and collaborating, were my top three, and they had equal amounts. So I use them the most equally. With the accommodation strategy, it is cooperative and unassertive. With compromising, there are medium levels of cooperation and assertiveness. And with collaboration, that strategy uses cooperation and assertiveness. The assessment exposed that I am more assertive than I predicted. I chose this behavior because I am proud of my results, especially because conflict management is a life skill I will use consistently in my work and personal life. Because where does conflict happen? It happens at home, at work, or anywhere you're interacting with another human. Personally, I am married and the conflicts have and will continue to arise with my partner. That's just part of marriage. It requires use of all strategies to resolve marital problems. In my work environment, conflicts arise within the team sometimes, and compromising behavior is used often because my work requires a significant amount of delegation that is not always welcomed. So, compromising on which tasks each discipline is responsible for is a skill I use continuously and will continue to use. I will practice using the compromising and collaborative strategies more often, if appropriate. I hope to maintain that level of constructive assertiveness and will use the other strategies of accommodating, forcing, and avoiding only when appropriate to the situation. I will evaluate the sources of conflict more when deciding which strategy to use. So, sources of conflict are personal differences, informational deficiencies, role incompatibility, and environmental stress. So, I will try to look at the root of the conflict and evaluate the situation from that angle more. I will know I am practicing this behavior correctly if I see better results that stem from the conflicts. The common goals that the team has will be reached through compromise and collaboration, and the conflict will transform into a win-win situation. An unfavorable behavior I discovered from a personal inventory assessment is I have a low level of perceived creativity. I chose this behavior because it needs to change to solve problems more effectively. I was not surprised by my results because I know I am a task-driven person and I use analytical problem solving frequently to get rid of problems. So I need to change my behavior and use both types of problem solving creatively and analytically throughout life. While working in hospice care, it has been challenging for me to remember to look at the overall picture. I must complete medical tasks, but there are emotional and spiritual needs that need to be met, and those require creative thinking for possible solutions. Strategies for creative thinking are imagination, incubation, improvement, and investment. To use my imagination, I will attempt to think more radically when problem solving. To use the incubation strategy, I will depend on my team members and participate in team discussions to share and discover new ideas. Using improvement as a strategy, I will work to improve certain processes to increase efficiency, such as the process used to identify patient needs. Lastly, I will implement the investment strategy to be a competitive employee and to help the organization remain competitive within the healthcare industry. I will attempt to rise to challenges more rapidly. I will know my behavior has changed positively if I generate more possible solutions to problems and will also create something new, such as an improved process, a radical idea, or increased competitiveness from the problem-solving process. According to one of the assessments, I have a low ability to develop teams. I was not surprised by this finding since my experience has been participating as a team member more rather than the leader. I believe with more experience and practice, this behavior will improve, but I can start working on that improvement now. I chose this behavior because teamwork is present in all areas of my life. Though it is a personal concept, a family can be considered a team. In the work environment, a functional team is essential to meet optimal levels of productivity and morale. 4 stages for forming a team are the forming, norming, storming, and performing stages. With forming, I will foster a positive environment that team members can feel they have trustful relationships, and I will try to understand the team members themselves. With norming, I will provide support and demonstrate commitment to the team's goal, and I will lead by example to enhance collaboration. With the storming phase, conflicts will arise and will need to be managed. I will aim for a win-win outcome for those involved by referring to conflict management strategies that I had referred to earlier. In the performing stage, I will use creative thinking, specifically the improvement strategy, to improve processes involved for the conflict to not only solve the current problem, but to improve on the processes related to the problem. If behaving correctly, conflicts will still arise, but this won't necessarily be a negative occurrence. Conflicts will arise and team members will engage with each other to work through them. And this demonstrates a high functioning team because I do not want my team to be complacent and passive. Another measure of a high functioning team is the environment they are working in will be a supportive environment and there will be high morale. There will also continue to be clear roles and expectations that were established at the norming stage, but they may need to be reestablished if there is not enough clarity. Lastly, the team will be performing better than average if I am behaving as a sufficient leader. According to an assessment, I have a high ability to provide negative feedback, a normal level of knowledge of coaching and counseling, and a low ability to communicate supportively. I thought this mix of results was interesting, but it was very insightful. I will focus more on the supportive communication in this assessment because that is what I scored the lowest on. So I am going to share a personal story about supportive communication. So to communicate supportively, I will reflect on how others have communicated with me and identify their techniques that made the conversation supportive. Unfortunately, a difficult issue has very recently developed, and I have been able to reflect on the communication that occurred. During a workday afternoon, my supervisors and director made an announcement that there will be an urgent Teams call for the whole department that we need to be present for. On this call, the director shared the news of the passing of a fellow coworker, and she was also a dear friend of mine. This was an extremely difficult Teams meeting, but I greatly appreciated how my director handled it. She scheduled the call for the end of the day, because there was going to be a company email that was going to be sent. She wanted us to find out from her rather than an email. She gave us time to share our thoughts immediately following the news and explained resources available to help us process the death. There was presence. She remained present for us during and after the call and encouraged us to reach out to leadership if we needed anything. They were also present even if we didn't know what we needed. This was an authentic conversation between a leader and a team, and it built more trust. I will know I am communicating supportively in the future because interpersonal relationships will remain positive and improve. Continued trust and authenticity stemming from communication will strengthen interpersonal relationships, leading to a productive and fulfilling work environment. And I have seen this within my own work environment and will learn from the leaders around me that are practicing this behavior in a positive manner. I would like to thank you. I have learned concepts I will use and refer to for the rest of my personal and professional life throughout the semester. These behaviors of mine I have explored in this presentation are the ones that stood out most to me that I need to work on, either strengthen them or retrain myself to behave differently. So thank you for helping me become more knowledgeable about myself and providing the tools I need to succeed as I move on from Washburn University.